I didn't know that. I had no idea. And that's a cool part about what we do is like I don't know everything, you know. I don't know how what I do helps other people a lot. I don't understand, how I affect other people. I know other people tell me those things, but I don't see those things because I just feel like I'm just doing what I was assigned to do, you know. So it isn't as powerful to me as it is for some of you sometimes, you know. But I'm happy to be here and be a servant of Christ, you know. I'm happy that I get to talk about that as well, you know. So my name is Matthew Anderson. I'm an alcoholic and a drug addict, and I appreciate being here. This is Audible. I didn't know, you know, but now I know. 6 and 7 is a super deep subject, and then it's super not that deep, you know. I will say that coming in the rooms and coming into recovery, I really thought that I was okay already, you know. Like I would come to meetings. I've been coming around the fellowship since 2005. And I would come into meetings and I promise you it was you. You did it. I'm here because this happened. And like trauma, that's why I'm here. And if what happened to you happened to me, happened to you, you would be like me too, you know. But there's really no way of digging into 6 and 7 without really getting into a 4-step inventory on my life and how I got here to begin with, because I wasn't able to look at character defects or even see them. It's like Jen said, I still got all of this stuff. Like, watch me on 95, you know. Play basketball with me. Join a fantasy football league with me. And you will see defects of character at their finest. So it's cool I get to be, you know, a servant and be in people's lives and be a part of like doing what God asked me to do and being a huge part of recovery and trying to change like the dynamics of what recovery is in our state. Because for years, like our state was like kind of separate, you know. Jen spoke a little bit about that as well. There's been this separation that I see anyway. My experience with recovery is like separation between fellowships in the beginning, where it's like NAAA, like it's like a gang, you know, and we join us, you know, and if you don't, like, oh, them people are, you know, and you'll see like we used to have all these like Facebook posts when Facebook first came out, and it would say AA, and it would have a crowd of people look like this, you know, and it would say NA, then you see like all the cool people and stuff. So there was like this gang going on, you know, and like having this experience that I'm about to talk to you about is what really convicted me to come back to Delaware and give back to my people. Because you are my people. This is where I grew up. This is where I'm from. You know, I've been to jail here. I fought with some of you. I went to jail with some of you. I got high and used drugs with some of you. You know, like this is where my heart is, you know. I get to be a completely different person here, and that allows God to use me in a beneficial way. More so here than anywhere else. Although I'm beneficial everywhere I go, I try to be a servant everywhere I go. I'm more powerful here. Well, God's more powerful through me here. Just because you guys have seen all my faults, all my defects of character. You have seen me at the lowest stages of who I was, and now you bear witness to, you can see that something happened to me now, you know. So I got to go through this. When I was in rehab, I'm just going to get right to it, you know, because I don't have much time. And when I went to rehab, I went with my significant other. We both went to rehab together. I was completely broken and hopeless. Now, that is a condition that sounds like it sucks for some of you, you know, when you're in that spot of like being broken and afraid, you know, of not what's to come. afraid of what's going to happen. You're afraid of everything that's going on in your life. You're afraid of being sober. You don't know what that looks like because you haven't been it in so long. Like you're at your ends where you're going to end up in prison for the rest of your life, or you're going to end up dead. And like that's where I was at. I was at that broken, hopeless place in my life. Like there was nothing else. I was out of ideas. And I don't mean out of ideas and, maybe one more. I was just like, I knew that I was going to die, and I knew it was soon. I tell people all the time that I knew I was either going to spend the rest of my life in jail or die, but the truth is, I knew I was going to die, and it was very close. Like I was hanging by a thread, man. I was dead at every hospital. Like everywhere I was waking up, I was ODing like so many times, just about on a daily basis, fighting for my life, not knowing where to go, waking up, trying to stop but can't, knowing that I was going to OD again eventually and end up dead, but I could not stop. Like at that place, at the place where like I knew that life was going to be over soon for me. And what a beautiful place that was. It was a horrible place when I was there. But like that's where I found Christ, man. And I didn't find Christ. It's kind of like what Jen said. I didn't know. I had an experience with Christ in the past, but since then I had experiences with all sorts of religious beliefs and spiritual practices and studying science and astrology and all sorts of stuff and getting some gemstones and, need some crystals. Like I had tried all sorts of things. So the Christ thing that I found, which was so convicting as a child that had changed my life, which I don't have time to get into, was the last stop on the block for me here. But I'll just tell you, in that broken place, that very broken, hopeless place that maybe you are at, or maybe someone that's listening to this is at, what a beautiful place you're in. And I know that sounds crazy, but that is the truth. That is the place when I was out of ideas, hanging from a thread, knowing that my life is going to be over soon. That place is where something happened to me. Something happened to me. I remember they said, Matt, do you want to go to church? This is at the rehab. It's bougie in Florida, They like take you to church and stuff. Hey, you guys want to go to the beach? They got pools and, Anyway, so they were like, do you want to go to church? And I didn't want to go to church, but I wanted to get out of the rehab. And I was in that broken and hopeless state, and I just needed something. So I knew that like they were like church. So I was in the mix. I just wanted to find something. And honestly, God was the last stop on the block for me. It was the last stop. And not that I had any belief whatsoever that God would work for me. I went to the church. And then when I got to the church, there was a guy up there, and I spoke about this. A lot of you heard my story, and this is the truth. There was a guy up there. His name was Pastor Daniel. And Pastor Daniel was given a message on counterfeit. That's what he said, counterfeit. Don't fall for the counterfeit. This is the way. Don't fall for the counterfeit. Jesus is the way. And like I heard, like that dude spoke through that dude directly to me. And I don't mean Pastor Daniel was like, hey, Matt, you or anything, or pointed to me. It's thousands of people at this church. He didn't just point at me. He didn't say anything directly to me, but I knew he was talking to me. Everything that man said was directed at me. Like I knew who he was talking to. I remember looking around the room and I was like, he's talking to me. Like I didn't know if anybody, I'm looking around the room and I'm like, he definitely ain't talking to these people, Like I'm in West Palm Beach. These people are bougie, driving Bentleys and all. It's a whole different level in West Palm Beach, believe me. but I knew he was talking to me. And like at that moment, man, I just felt grace and mercy. And like it helped me to change. Like I knew that God was in my life. Like I felt the conviction and presence of God surround me to a point where I just started bawling. And I knew that it was real. And whatever that was, I was following that. Life hanging by a thread. Follow that beautiful feeling that I just felt. And I followed it. So the reason that I'm sharing this with you is so you understand, like there was some steps that happened before 6 and 7. Because we can get into this process and start talking about 6 and 7 and going into this stuff without you realizing that things happened before we got to a place. I could not see character defects in myself. The most difficult person for me to find something out about is me. We all heard it our whole lives, like someone sees you better than you can see yourself, you know? And that is the truth. I can point out all of your I could sit out there while we're eating dinner and I'm telling you, I know, look at her, you know? Oh, look at him. Why is he doing that? I know what he's doing, you know? I can point out all the people's defects of character, but I can't see them in myself. It's difficult enough to see them in myself going through the process, but you need to understand in order for you to have a shot, not that they're going away, because they ain't, you just get better with them, you know, but in order for you to even have a shot at seeing you, there's work to be done. I had to have this conviction and know that I needed God in my life, which allowed me to be willing to see myself from a different angle. You understand? Like I wasn't able to be willing to see myself until God came along. Like when God came and I felt the presence of God, I was willing to do absolutely anything to change. My willingness level went from I'm not doing nothing to I will do anything you want. So when I had that conviction and I go into, you know, some other steps in my life and I got to a place called inventory, which in the 12-step fellowships we all call a 4-step. And they had this question. And like the 4-step, lots of people think is about like pointing out, you know, other people's defects of character. You know, like I thought it was a therapy session. It's like, yeah, my dad beat me, punk, you know, you don't even understand. The PO locked me up, you know, she cheated on me, he robbed me, they stole my stuff, you know. Like I thought that that's what it was about until someone explained it to me and we get to the other side of inventory. And the other side of inventory, it says it's a searching and fearless moral inventory of who? Ourselves. Not my dad, the guy who robbed me, the girl who cheated, or none of that stuff. It's a searching and fearless moral inventory of myself. But without this God piece, I was unable to see it. So I wasn't going to be able to see myself had I not had this experience already. So now I'm open and I'm willing to look, because this is the question. Are you prepared to look at yourself from an entirely different angle? That's the question. And I was. Because I had this conviction in God, because I was in the place that I was in, because I was hanging from a thread and my life was just about over, I felt death surrounding me. I'm telling you. Since those things happened and I was in that broken position, I was open and prepared to look at me from an entirely different angle. And the angle was this: where are my defects of character? That's really what the 4th column and the 4th step is about. It's like looking at myself from an entirely different angle is, Matt, what did I do? Remember, what did she do? She cheated, you know. But what did Matt do? I mean, I cheated too. A lot more than she did, you know. I stole her stuff, robbed her, whatever. I'll give you an example. Dad, I'd use this a lot. Dad. I'll give you a different example because I use that too much and I don't want my dad to hear it, Brian. Brian is my baby's mother's husband. Forget Brian, I don't like Brian. That's how I felt. So he was on my inventory, so I was like, who are you angry with? Brian. What'd he do? He came around. Let me tell you about Brian. Brian comes into, we had a dance recital. My daughter had a dance recital. I've been in her jail most of her life. So when I came home, like I went to this dance recital, and it's like my first time being able to hang out with my daughter. And guess who's there? It was Brian. How dare you show up when I'm here? So I had a talk with Brian. And I said, man, come here, man, let me talk to you. So he's already nervous, I mean, I was a very violent criminal, I was like a real, so Brian everyone was kind of scared, So I was like, come here, Brian. He was like, oh, what's up, And I said, Brian, when I'm here, you're not. Do you understand me? And Brian's like, yeah, all right, yep. And then going through this inventory and viewing this thing because I'm resentful at this guy, being able to view my defects of character through this event, this is where I find them at. All your defects of character, 8 of the 4 steps come from inventory. This is where my character defects are at in that 4th column. That's where I see them. I'm a bully. I'm manipulative. I'm ignorant. I'm inconsiderate. I'm selfish. So when I get to this point of being prepared to look at myself from an entirely different angle and prepared to look at Brian from an entirely different angle, I see like, this is where I got at. This dude, this Brian fella, my daughter is 26 years old. I've been in jail 17 years of her life. And the times that I haven't been, she's already been an adult or I just wasn't even around her whole life. And when I look at Brian from an entirely different angle, I see that Brian's been in her life all of these years. This dude raised my daughter, man. My daughter is an incredible woman. She's married to an incredible man. She's been to college, graduated. She lives in New York. She does her thing. She's self-sufficient. She is an amazing girl. Amazing woman all the way around the board. If there was a perfect child that I would come up with, that I would want to have, it is Sienna. And I had nothing to do with it. So after realizing my defects of character and my faults and my selfishness and my self-centeredness and my resentments, I realized that, now my daughter just got married a few years ago, and I got to be at the wedding, and I got to talk to Brian again. First time in about 25 years that I seen Brian, about 20. And I got to talk to Brian, and I was like, Brian, thank you. Thank you for taking care of my daughter. You did an incredible job with my baby, man. And thank you for being a man in her life when I couldn't be. And Brian said, Matt, she made it real easy, man. And I got to be, you understand? I can't see myself without God, without doing this thing. These character defects are meaningless. In fact, the truth is, even now in recovery and knowing and can see myself at times, because I can't always see myself, there's times that I get angry, especially on the basketball court, and Zach is grabbing me Matt, and I'm just gone. I can't see Zach at all. I don't like these things about me. I know we make fun of it sometimes, but I don't like losing control of me. I don't like losing control where I get so angry that I can turn violent, Like, I don't like being that way. I don't like getting on 95 and being upset. I don't like being selfish, and worrying about, like, people. I sell drug tests, believe it or not, I sell drug tests and I do lab work. So a lot of the stuff that I do in toxicology and things like that is like I get to talk to a lot of people in the recovery industry. And if someone gets up and they're sharing, or I meet them at a meeting and they talk about they work at or their disposition or whatever, they own a treatment center, you know what my thought goes to? Complete selfishness, where I start thinking like, well, maybe I can get this account. And it starts to, my motive. It's not saying that that's wrong, because we all take care of each other. Of course, I can save you. It's not like a bad thing, but it is bad when that is my only motive. My only motive is to talk to you, reach out to you to try to get an account. And it shouldn't be that way. So I couldn't see defects of character, and they don't go away. So 6, it's like I said, there's a lot of meat and potatoes in it. But then it's really as simple as this. My main character defect is selfish and self-centeredness. That's it. I can just boil it down to one. I don't got to go into all this other stuff, because it's already, it's difficult enough for this one. But this one stems around all of them. Selfish and self-centeredness. I'll explain. Kind, considerate, generous, modest, and self-sacrificing. They sound like assets, right? Depends on how you use them. Because I'll be kind to you, considerate to you, modest and self-sacrificing just to get what I want. I'll be kind to you. It's like, I use this analogy, but hey, so you look beautiful, you want to go to the movies? Take you out to dinner? And then, but my motive at the end is like, sex. And then when I don't get that, I get upset. So I'll be, for another one. Mom, I cut the grass. I did the yard work. The kitchen's clean. Can I have some money? That makes it a defect of character. So it's really what I'm using it and how I'm using it. Am I doing this for me? Then it's a defect. Am I trying to get something and steal something out of the show? That's a defect of character. Am I doing something for you, no strings attached, just trying to help? Then that's an asset all day long. If I'm doing this for God and that's all my motive, I can do it daily at the meeting. Friday night, I just left Friday night. Tonight is Friday night, and Zach always makes these events on Friday nights, when we have a nice group going on and interfering with our group. Thank you, Zach, babe. On Friday nights, I can go to a meeting. Sometimes there's 150 people in there, Sometimes more, sometimes a little less. But if I go into that meeting, it's important for me to pray and meditate before I even walk into that room, let alone when I wake up in the morning. But before I even walk into that room, because if not, I can go in there and then I can see a hot girl go in, and then all of a sudden my motive changes from helping you guys to her, trying to get her attention. I got to be mindful of myself. If I'm not, then I'm in trouble. It's not saying that I'm perfect. And then we got other steps that go into it. And 7 is really just praying and letting God have it all. Like, God, take these things away from me. Let me get better. And then we got more steps that talk about constructively reviewing my day. But at times, a defective character will make me or allow me to destructively review my day. Where it's like, oh, man, I messed up. And I start getting into self-pity and stuff like that, instead of just saying, okay, I messed up, make sure I do it better next time. So the truth is, you can't see you. I couldn't see me without Christ. That's the truth. There was no way for Matthew Anderson to view Matthew Anderson without God's help. It even talks about that in our literature of Alcoholics Anonymous. I am a member of Alcoholics Anonymous. And it talks about that. There's no way of entirely getting rid of self without his aid. How do I get rid of me? It's me telling me I'm fine. I need something greater than me, which is Christ for me, to tell me, yo, man, you was not fine, bro. But I got you. So, I guess we're back to the normal piece, man. This whole thing is about God. This whole process. Without God, nothing is possible. With God in my life, everything is possible. I don't care what it is. Like, he makes all things possible. Saved a wretch like me. And I'm looking around the room, you too. So I appreciate y'all for letting me come out. Thank you.